Dream your luck! I'm Matti Mali aka Hirsi Actor, and it's time to end our first retrospective series with the big one. Yes, the most successful role-playing video game with 30 million sold copies, hype beyond belief, equally loved and hated. Well, that last part can be said about every game in this franchise, but whatever. This is The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim.
The popularity of the latest Elder Scrolls main entry can be partly explained with it being ported to almost every single gaming platform since its release in 2011. This practice has been ridiculed, but I get it. If the developers want the Elder Scrolls 6 to uphold the franchise's legacy, they're going to need a lot of cash for it.
As for the creative team, Todd Howard continued to be the producer, but as the lead designer, Bruce Nesmith returns all the way from the Elder Scrolls 2's design team, and as the new senior writer we have Emil Bagliarul, who is also the lead writer for both Fallout 3 and 4. So the grand adventure begins in the year 201 of the 4th year with the traditional You're a Prisoner opening that has a twist. Death sentence!
What's the main character's crime, you ask? Just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, as he was mistaken for a member of Stormcloak Rebellion that aims to free Skyrim from the Empire of Tamriel. And just before our hero College Shark, a Khajiit hailing from the province of Elsewhere, is about to meet his untimely end...
What in oblivion is that?
Sentries, what do you see?
Fire! Explosions! Cinematic moments! And the choice where you can either follow an Imperial or a Stormcloak, but I know who didn't try to chop my head off.
I can see what the writers were going for. After all, the decision to execute the player was made by one unreasonable officer, and her employees did seem to disagree with that. But in a hectic situation like this, the majority of the players would choose to follow a group where none of them showed hostilities. Plus, the first-time players don't know enough about this conflict to make an informed decision. Besides, the main plot pushes this civil war stuff in the background rather quickly.
Like with the previous game, the opening sequence also works as the tutorial and it feels similar to Oblivion, but there are some major changes to the formula. First, there's the combat where moving around is made faster, which makes it feel chaotic at first and it requires some getting used to. Blocking feels to be less useful, at least at the beginning. Wait, is my health regenerating? Self-replenishing mana, that I understand, but this feels too much like hand-holding.
One of the most common criticisms towards Skyrim, especially from the series veterans, is how it kept streamlining the gameplay of its predecessors even further. I know this because in almost every Elder Scrolls review I've watched for this show, there's at least one salty nostalgia-blind ninja in the comments who's complaining about that, and sometimes even the reviewers themselves did that, and I got so sick of it. However, now that I finally played the game myself, I can see where they are coming from.
Catering to more casual audience is present everywhere. In the character building, the amount of attributes are reduced to only 3, health, mana and stamina, classes have been removed and instead you pick up a skill during level up. I get that it's meant to give more responsibility for the players in building the kind of characters they want, but I think that classes keep varying playstyle templates. Without them, all my gaming experiences feel the same. It's even present in the dungeons where the puzzles are insultingly easy and also in the narrative. Instead of starting as a nobody who has to earn their place in the world, Skyrim is more of a power fantasy where people don't need much convincing to give you praises and rewards. Granted, it's not as bad as in Neverwinter Nights, but still.
However, the combat is more difficult than its reputation may suggest, and there are some new neat mechanics like ability to dual wield spells. There's no annoying level scaling, so most of the weaker enemies are a piece of cake, but there are still plenty of tough confrontations, especially with blood dragons. Oh yeah, dragons who have been absent for centuries have made a return and are led by the dreaded Alduin, the World Eater. Up to College Shark to put a stop to Dragon Menace, for he is Dragonborn, who can use their own abilities against them.
This is achieved by killing dragons that pop up randomly in the map and consuming their souls, which allow the player to learn shouts that basically are spells but cooler. After his first successful slaying, our protagonist is summoned by the Greybeards that are familiar with the Way of the Voice, and is taught by their member Arngir, played by none other than Captain Von Trapp himself, Christopher Plummer.
There is indeed much that we know that you do not. That does not mean that you are ready to understand it. Do not let your easy mastery of the voice tempt you into the arrogance of power. That has been the downfall of many Dragonborn before you.
And that's not the only celebrity voice that include but are not limited to Joan Allen as the cold-hearted police operative in Hiding Delphine and Max von Sydow as her eccentric boss Esbern. They all are here for a reason and the main cast is well performed. Even the generic doomsday villain Alduin played by Daniel Riordan manages to feel threatening.
You do not even know our tongue, do you? Such arrogance, to dare take for yourself the name of Nova.
Unfortunately, the side characters and extras have some unintentionally comical voices, and that's because neither the actors nor the director knew the difference between Swedish and Austrian accents. But yeah, in story presentation and plot progression, Skyrim outshines Oblivion. It even has more natural dialogue, and even the player character has less generic lines. It's not perfect though.
After witnessing Alduin to resurrect one of his bodies, Delphine suspects that Talmor, the emperor of supermassist elves that had a devastating war against Tamriel a few years back, may have something to do with the return of the dragons, because they benefit the most from the civil war's unresolvedness. So our hero is tasked to infiltrate the Talmoran embassy via fake invitation to their cocktail party, and this is just the kind of political intrigue I wanted to return to this franchise ever since Daggerfall. But alas, just like the Civil War, this plot thread is left in the background because the story is more interested about the destiny of the main character and their quest for self-discovery. And as a side note, this part features a mandatory stealth mission that was frustrating due to the game not being clear on how sneaking works.
However, just when I thought the story had wasted its potential, I met the leader of the Greybeards, Parthonax, who is by the way voiced by the Super Mario voice actor Charles Martinet. And let me tell you, listening him talking words of wisdom and introducing all these crazy fantasy concepts to the plot while the sun was rising, that was some awe-inspiring stuff. And for the first time in the franchise's history, one of the title or Elder Scrolls had actual relevance to the main plot.
Of course, by the series tradition you are free to ignore all that and do anything you want, trademark, in this 36 square kilometer landscape. Unfortunately, I can't comment much on the side stuff due to focusing on getting the main quest finished on time, but there were some potentially interesting missions, like finding out if the burning of a family was an accident or not. Well, one of the characters relevant to that was killed in a dragon attack, so I guess that was close for me anyway. The game also introduces companions, but I stuck with the one I met first, namely Lydia, who the Jarl of Whiterun assigned to me as a personal bodyguard. However, she has no personality, not even a tell me more about yourself dialogue option was present, so maybe I'll one day see if there's someone who is more than a glorified mule. Maybe this gal, I mean she seems to have more spunk in her.
Presentation-wise, the game is great. Skyrim's rough whiteness was beautiful and made me feel right at home, and Jeremy Soul's soundtrack is magnificent in its melancholy mightness. Though, for some reason, bugs were more frequent than in Morrowind and Oblivion. I mean, it wasn't Daggerfall levels bad, but they were still immersion breaking. I didn't see any legendary ones like mammoths ascending to the skies, but there was this one instance where I met Alduin trying to resurrect one of his other bodies, But for some reason nothing happened and he was just flapping his wings and staring at me awkwardly. Well, to be fair, I have the 2013 Anthology Collection, which was released before the special edition, so maybe the bugs I had problems with are fixing there. Oh yeah, I had these games in my backlog for that long.
All in all, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is in some areas too simplified for my taste, but the magic is still there. I do prefer Oblivion because its worst moments both in story and gameplay are better than Skyrim's worst moments. Even so, it's a grandiose experience with memorable moments and it looks and sounds the best of them all. As for the upcoming 6th game, if they bring back some complexity to the gameplay, hire more bug testers and try something else than the same Chosen One plots, I can see myself supporting this franchise in the future as well.
Also, the game got 3 downloadable expansions: Dawnguard, Heathfire and Dragonborn, but as I mentioned, I didn't have time to play them. Though Dragonborn did introduce itself rather memorably. Thus concludes the Elder Scrolls retrospective. But be sure to join for the next episode, which will once again come in 2 weeks, where I finish another retrospective with the 3rd Thief game, Deadly Shadows. Until then, Kukan Fachin Tid. Sign up for the Elder Scrolls Online beta. Well, that ship has sailed.